afternoon, everybody. Welcome to No BS Sports. This is Ryan from No Border Sports, the BS, and No BS Ted, and I'm Ted from Ted Talks Ball, the Ted and No BS Ted. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, Ryan. How you doing today?
You confused the shit out of me how you said that.
I totally butchered it.
I'm good. How are you?
Not doing bad for a Tuesday. I wish it was a Victory Tuesday. But I can't say that I'm super surprised the way things went down. I don't know if you saw my preview article, but it said, are the Niners due for a letdown? And I said that we were due for a letdown. And I said that I thought we would win, but of course I wasn't expecting, first of all, Dre not to suit up. He was questionable. I thought he'd play. I didn't expect Trent Williams, Debo, and CMC to get injured during the game. Of course, Trent Williams played hurt, so some people don't realize that he was actually injured, but he was. He has a sprained ankle, and all those things affected us. So I predicted a 24-13 Niners win, and, we almost won 20-19 or 20-18 or whatever it would have been.
It would have been 20-19.
Yeah. So disappointed at the loss, but not super surprised. And hopefully it leads us to learn some things and to figure out some of our issues and to address some issues. I mean, I think I said it to you the week before the Cowboys, but I definitely said it that week. I wasn't so sure that losing to the Cowboys wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world, because I feel like if you're just cruising along, winning, you don't always address the issues. And I feel like there are some issues with this team that we've been talking about all off season as well as in season. They seem to be persisting.
I don't know. That game, everybody looked not like themselves. You know what I mean?
I do.
And I don't know. I don't know why you don't. So the scheme, one thing I really didn't like was Kyle kept on just trying to run Christian McCaffrey up the middle there, right? Well, it was really rough up there, right? That's a good way to get Christian hurt. But also, he wasn't as effective as other people that were put in there. Jordan Mason, I think he had 2 carries, averaged, I think it was, hold on, let me see. I don't want to misquote. Jordan Mason, he got 5 carries for 27 yards for a 5.4 yard per carry average. Why weren't we running Jordan Mason a little bit earlier? Well, earlier on, because it seemed like that's more his style of football, is just slamming in between the tackles. He's gonna, I feel he'll get more yards that way. Christian McCaffrey, have him go out to the outs, in that situation, have him, hit the edge. I didn't think we were, and then we kept on trying to get Brandon Ayuk to catch a pass. All game we were trying to get Brandon Ayuk going. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to get your best wide receiver up and going so you can win the game. I'm not saying that. We got other targets on this team that are very reliable when you throw their way. Let's get some scores. Let's put some drives together, and then we'll worry about Brandon Ayuk. You know what I mean? This is the other thing. If you're eating the defense up with these other guys, right? Well, then guess who's not going to be so covered because they're going to have to divert their attention to somebody else? Brandon Ayuk. I don't need to cover Brandon. Brandon dropping everything. Even if I leave him butt-ass naked open in the middle of the field, he's still going to drop it. You're telling me the defense wasn't thinking that all day? They're like, we got this motherfucker. You know what I mean? Yeah, use that. I seen poor Jake Moody just defeated. He looked like he just wanted to be anywhere but in his own skin. And I said, shake it off, homie. It's all good. Everybody had a hand in that loss. Okay. So to me, shout out to the chat. What up? I think everybody had a hand in that. Everybody that got on that field could have played a better game. You know what I mean? It's, obviously some people, maybe, I don't know how Christian McCaffrey was really going to play a better game. I think he was trying his ass off that whole time. I'm not slighting him for anything. He didn't cough up a ball or anything like that, so I can't really get mad at him. But I'm not going to say he's the only one that did a good job or this or that. I'm just going to say everybody's got a hand in this. They could have played better.
Yeah, no, everybody could have played better pretty much. It was a bad day all around. We definitely missed Dre on the run defense.
Jeez.
It seemed like we were really counting on Debo to have a Debo day. And I think I had said that last week that, I really thought it was going to be a tough day where you need someone like Debo to get those tough yards. And
those Debo screens. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Steven, don't bother me here, was saying Ronnie Bell has shown some good separation. Would have liked to see him on more routes.
Yeah.
He's a dog.
Not just that, but like Ross the Boss Dwelly. You got somebody who's dropping passes. Put Ross the Boss Dwelly out there, because anytime you throw it his way, he comes down with it.
I will say
twice a year, but
I didn't think that Ayuk really dropped that many. There was the one big one over the middle, and the others I felt like were overthrows. I mean, they're like ones that maybe could have caught, but I wouldn't call them drops.
There was definitely at the end of the game, it seemed like Brock Purdy was overthrowing him. It seemed like it was always like Brock couldn't get the ball in his zone. But still, when he had those chances, that's not him, is to be dropping those balls. And he had one catch for the first, I don't know, 3 quarters. I can't remember what time it was in the fourth quarter where he got his second catch. And hey, maybe you're right. About half of those aren't his fault. Right? But the other half he should have got. And he knows that shit. So it's I'm not getting down on him. I'm just saying, hey, that was an issue. And I think we should have schemed around that. Instead of trying to force the ball to him, how about we just put him on the burner, maybe use him to take the top off, and then start feeding everybody underneath him? Because at that point, anyways, what they think, they're trying to force feed Brandon Ayuk. Play into it. I just think Kyle got in his own head and didn't call a very good game, but it didn't help that everybody else was off. Like Brock Purdy had his worst game ever, you know what I mean, in the NFL, which I'm not necessarily mad at him, because I felt something like this had to come. You know what I mean? Like, he can't just walk on water for the rest of his life. But we'll see what comes from this. I think that's the real present in this story, is what will come from this. Because if Brock Purdy's the guy that we think he's got as far as character, right? This should be something that makes him start moving mountains, right? Because he got bitch slapped in the face with this performance. His performance was just a bitch slap in his own face. Because that man is talented, better than that. He knows that. He's probably sitting there just, pissed off watching the film, because he knows he can go out and put out better tape than that. And if he's the man that we think he is, as far as character-wise, he's going to prove us right, that he's going to go and he's going to make this better. We've seen him under more pressure than that and make better decisions. Do you feel that?
I don't know. We've seen a lot more pressure than that, especially just blowing up the line of scrimmage, where the defensive line was just playing on our side of the line of scrimmage a lot. They're pretty dominant with, Myles Garrett, with Darius Smith, with Dalvin Tomlinson. They were eating for sure. Even their other defensive tackle too.
yeah, everybody was having fun. I can't remember. We were watching the game, and I'm like, Corey, we can't be doing that. We got to throw a screen pass or something. These guys are getting too much penetration.
Yeah.
We got to throw a screen pass.
Pause.
Guess what? No screen pass. Oh yeah, pause. Who cares about pause?
Jimmy
Think whatever you
Perez
like.
in the house. Jason Niner Smash Massey in the house.
What up?
Steven, Brian Colt, Dave McNiner. Said run the damn ball. That Mason, we're run first. Kyle is trying to be a pass first team. Yeah, I mean, I was really frustrated when we didn't run it, when we had the ball back up 17-16 with a little over 3 minutes left to go in the game.
Oh yeah.
And
That
people
was
said, well, we
ridiculous.
passed it 3 times in a row. It's just the first time. And then after that, we kind of had to pass it once it was 2nd and 20 or 2nd and 25, or whatever it was.
That's the thing. He thinks he's smarter than he is. And then when you need to come out and you got to play good, essentially old school football strategy. You know what I mean? Like control the clock, run the ball. You know, that's high school. 20 years ago. That's the strategy. Like essentially the whole game. So that's what you just need to revert back to in that time when you're up. It just there's so many times where he's done that, where he'll be like, I'm gonna blow their socks off on first down, and then he doesn't, and then we're stuck, and there'll be like a penalty or something. You know what I mean? So now, yeah, look what happens. Now you have to. You've given up all element of a surprise. If you if you run on first down and you get like 3 yards, you can pass on second down, play action pass. That's your home run. That's your home run. That's your home run, because they think that you're going to run the ball just like you did first down, because they all know you're trying to take the clock off. You know what I mean? So throw the ball, make sure it's a high completion percentage play, right? They're going to bite on the play action. You get the ball to them. Like I said, high completion. So why? So you get the ball that doesn't stop the clock, right? We were trying to run down the clock here, Kyle. And then maybe he can get a first down after some yak. There you go. And then you go back to running the ball.
Yeah,
and then
you got to run it. You got to take complete time off the clock and prevent those negative plays. But yeah, no, it's frustrating for sure. Real quick, just want to say we are streaming on both channels. I will try to show all the chats, even if I don't respond to all of them. If you're watching on a browser, please open up a second tab and put it on mute and watch both channels at the same time. Or if you're on a phone, grab a tablet or a second device and stream on 2 devices to get us all those viewers. We appreciate that. Thanks in advance. David asked me if is that Gold Bar whiskey in the bug. I actually don't drink anymore, so no, it's not whiskey, sadly. Just coffee. I have a couple in the morning when I get up around 5 or 6, and usually one in the afternoon, somewhere between 3:34. Sometimes as late as 6, but I try not to have coffee after 6 p.m. so I can get to bed at night. Alberto said the last drive got us to win the game, and we did it without CMC and no Debo. Yeah, we were, but I just think, and I think, what did he say, Bob? He said, look, man, it's an ugly game all around. We'll learn from it, all the positives. And he answered a question. Will Purdy be able to bring us back in the last minute? Yeah, I mean, Purdy brought us back in the last minute, but there was another comment here by Steven that I liked, where he said, I'm wondering if Brock should be throwing with a glove in the rain due to his hand size. And this is the thing. Yeah, this is the thing that I've noticed is that Brock Purdy does not play well with a wet ball. And we saw it Sunday. And, when he put together that drive that could have been the game-winning drive if Moody had hit the field goal, the conditions were drier by then. It had cleared up for some time. The field and the ball were both much drier than earlier in the game when Brock struggled. And I saw it live when I was at the wild card game against the Seahawks. In the first half, we went into halftime down 14-16 in that game because Purdy had been off target. And the sun came out, the field dried up, and the ball got dry. and he put together a whopper of a second half. So it's starting to be a little bit of a concern, especially when you look at our schedule through the second half of the season. I tweeted this out yesterday, where we've got we got the Vikings on Monday night in Minnesota, so that's a dome, so we're good there. But then we've got the Bengals at Levi's October 29th. That's week 8. Week 9 bye. Week 10 Jags, Jacksonville could easily rain in Florida at any time. We've got the Bucks. And that's at Levi's. I'll be there for that. That could easily be a rain game, November 19th. Same thing with Seahawks in Seattle, November 23rd for Thanksgiving. Rains all the time, as Ryan knows. And
I would guarantee that it's going to rain at some point during the Seahawks game on Thanksgiving.
There you go. And then we got the Eagles in Philly. It might rain. It could snow. Who knows? But there could be precipitation for that game. That's
another one where I'm pretty sure there'll be rain.
Yeah. And then Seahawks again at Levi's, December 10th, could be rain. We got Cards. That's at Cards, so that will be indoor. So I doubt there'll be any rain. Sometimes they open the roof if it's nice weather, but I don't think they would do it if there was rain forecast. And then Ravens Christmas Day, Levi's easily could rain. And then Commanders at FedEx Field could rain or snow back there in Maryland, Landover, Maryland. And that's December 31st. And then the Rams back at Levi's again. So 9 of our last 11 games could be rain/wind, basically weather type games. So this is a little bit of a concern for me, seeing that Brock has struggled with a wet ball, at least to mine. Somebody brought up the Bucks game, and I just don't remember the field or the ball being that wet for the Bucks game. Now, granted, I was driving in a blizzard, which had just been through there, and obviously not too long prior, before getting up to Tahoe where I was. But I don't think that there was a ton of precipitation or wet ball or wet field, particularly wet field during that game.
I think it would be something to look into is how he was in college.
Well, the thing is, Ryan, here's the problem. College balls are smaller. Pause. NFL balls have a wider diameter.
Yeah.
They're longer and wider. Pause. And so they're harder to grip. And so
I understand this, but that doesn't mean that if he has issues.
Oh yeah, if he had issues in college, then they're just going to be magnified in the pros.
You see what I'm saying?
I thought he was pretty good in college, though. That was my understanding. But I am not an expert on Brock's college career. I will just say that.
That's why I'm saying it would be interesting to go back and look.
Yeah, it would be. Well, that's your assignment for this week, should you choose it, Ryan. Alberto Soto says, "What up, fam?" Got we saw that. We got Mark Graves in the house. He says, "Problem is O-line didn't protect this game." Yeah, O-line struggled, and part of that was Trent Williams with his sprained ankle. He gave up more pressures and a higher pressure rate. I think Myles Garrett had like a 31% pass rush win rate against them, which was Trent Williams' worst percentage of his career. So
I felt we needed to bring out an extra lineman on offense and defense.
Seriously, huh?
Yeah. So first thing, one of my all-time things is jumbo. Okay, I used to play offensive line. What I like about using things like jumbo is not only you got a lot of big guys there, you can start throwing people around well, especially if they start playing some weird defense, right? They pull out a big body and they put a smaller body in there, and then you can really get off to the races. But what it does is so if you cause the defense to have to bring out an extra lineman, that's going to throw off their rotations, right? So people are going to have to stay in longer. They're not going to be faster off the ball by the second half because they've played more reps in the front, and you're getting through their depth. Just adding one guy to the line. It's one less person to substitute. Plus, you got another person on the line to have to substitute. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So to me, I thought we should have been doing that from the get-go, because they dominated us up front. So why not have an extra lineman in there and extra pullers and whatnot to really get things going? I don't think Kyle has a jumbo formation set. I don't think
I mean, I
he
think they did that some with Kinlaw, where they run a bear front with Kinlaw. 3 DTs.
I'm talking about on the offensive line.
Yeah.
I don't think they
Maybe
have a set.
Bring in Matt Pryor or something like that as a
sure,
or Jalen Moore, I guess.
Whoever you feel is more capable, and like this is the situation too. Like it could probably be a guard. The reason being is you just make the tackle into a tight end, and then the guard, you can move around the whole line. So depending on what play it is, if there's somebody's really good at pulling and blocking, you can move them around and let everybody else do their thing. And then so like he could essentially have if he was really smart, he could have his own offensive lineman that just kind of does specialty shit, and you just plug and play him in there, and that's his whole thing, is he just does specialty shit. Like a Jason Poe. That would be nasty. You know what I mean? Have Jason Poe in there, because we've seen how fast he is. Imagine having Trent Williams, Jason Poe, Aaron Banks on the side going down like that, and have Aaron Banks hook out and CMC behind him, field side, him running down with Jason Poe down the field as the lead blocker.
He's not on the team anymore, though, is he?
I think he is. Isn't he?
He
might be practice squad. He
might
be practice squad. But
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. If you think about this stuff more, he could have a scheme. It's, to me, I like it. I would start my first half. I would probably like Jordan Mason and jumbo formation down their throat over and 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 over. First half, all nothing but that. And then second half, when you're tired and you're slow and all that, hey, good luck catching Christian McCaffrey, bitch.
There you go. Steven had a good point. Il Manning, we just got him back from the Cardinals practice squad, so that'd be a perfect guy. 6'2". He's a little bigger than Poe, and pretty good. We got a little Spongy in the house. One of your buddies. I don't want to talk about it. He's sad.
He's from Philadelphia.
Berry, sports highlights in the house. Randy Daytona, we haven't really got to call him out yet. He said Poe is smaller than the boombox guy. That's harsh.
Yeah, but he got lower center of gravity. He hit people.
There you go. And then
that's not fun.
Anshul Shah from the Shah Show. And everybody make sure you go resubscribe to him, because it's the Shah Show pod now, right? You redid it, right, Anshul? So people need to go resubscribe to his channel if you were subscribed before.
Oh, what?
Yeah. He's like,
why'd you start over?
I don't know. It doesn't say Shah Show pod today, though. I don't know. Maybe he's back. Maybe he's back to the original channel. That
Anshul, what are you doing?
Yeah, fill us in. Let us know what we need to do. We're happy to support.
Always being a diva. Always being a diva.
Yeah. And like I said, Daniel Berry sports highlights in the house. Make sure you check out their channel too.
Very good channel.
Yeah.
And he supports a lot of creators out there.
Yeah, Alberto Soto said, wasn't it raining in Mexico City when we played Arizona? It sure was, Alberto, but that was Jimmy G, not our buddy
Yimmy Yee.
Yimmy Yee. That was Jimmy's, maybe one of his best games of his career, up there with the
St. Louis or the Saints game.
Yeah, Saints game. Yeah, 38 point score.
That was the best game of his career. Was the
Jimmy didn't even have Emmanuel Sanders to throw a TD for him either that time, like he did in New Orleans. So they were all his points this time. So pretty good. But the Cards pretty much fell apart in that game from not training at altitude. If you recall, we played Mexico City is 7,349, I believe, feet elevation.
I think it's higher than that.
It's right around there. It's a 5,280 is Denver. I know it's a full 2,000 higher, so 73 something.
Because I was at Winter Park, and Winter Park was like 7,100,
There you
and
go. It's less than Mexico City. Yeah,
I've got a shirt in the closet from Winter Park.
nice. But so the Niners trained at Air Force Academy at 6,800 feet elevation.
Yeah,
and they were acclimated to the altitude, and the Cards trained at Scottsdale. In the second half, they just absolutely fell apart.
I remember, I think it was Greenlaw, or Fred Warner was talking about Greenlaw, or Greenlaw was talking about Fred Warner. About one of them was like the elevation was getting to him, and they were like, "Man, almost died out there that game," because he was so exhausted.
You could, man, if you get too oxygen deprived. There's no doubt about it. You could have a coronary easily from doing that, for stressing your body too much. Moody lost the game. I only hope he can win one for us. Yeah, Bryant, he did, but those swirling winds in Cleveland are notorious. Somebody was telling a story on a different pod. I think it was on Terror Dome, and he had I forget the guy who was on with him, who was saying when we got Joe Nedney from the Browns, they're like, "Oh yeah, he's a real one. He could kick him the field goals, in Cleveland." And like, it's notorious for being a really tough place to kick. So don't get too down on your boy. Don't let the people that are getting down on him get to you. He's not going anywhere. He's been doing great. I mean, those are his first two misses of the season. One from 54 is long. One from 41 you hope you could make. But again, like people say, compensate for the wind. Like, you can't compensate for a swirling wind. That's the whole point. You don't know which way it's blowing when it gets to the uprights. So whatever it's doing by you, it's different at the uprights. It's just unless you study it for years and years and years, like Robbie Gould did, it's hard to get good at that. So it's just going to take some time, but don't get too down on your boy, Brian. He'll be fine. Randy Turner says short arms. He said, we go bargain bin. That means short, small hands, etc. There's the truth to that. Refs keep stealing our momentum. I'd be fuming, not for anyone that's losing yesterday. Are you guys on the NFL payroll, or did you talk about that already? It seems no one talking about back calls. No, I mean, I talked about it on the timeline. I said that the Gibson roughing call was shoulder to shoulder. It was clearly not head or neck. I said that the Charvarius Ward hold that came right after that was not a penalty. If anything, it was on the receiver. So they wanted to make sure that the Browns scored to make the game exciting, and then we got our chance and we just fell short. So
I don't know if they wanted to make sure anybody scored. It seemed to me like those refs were incompetent for the most part.
A lot of them are.
Like, we should have had a face mask penalty at one point in time. They were missing stuff. They were not calling things correctly. They, instead of understanding something is a crucial moment and making a call that can be overturned, you know what I mean? That and then instead of going, no, oh no, that was a forward toss, and then you look at it, it's like, no, the ball was out and he's just pushing it forward. That's not a pass. Ball already comes out, and as it's out, he's pushing it forward, and that's a incomplete pass, huh? That's bullshit. So they were very incompetent. Look, they could be, trying to rig a game, but I think that there was probably things they could have called on us that would have probably helped that go along easier. You know what I mean? And it seemed to me like they were just incompetent.
Randy says a clear fumble too. Yeah, where they ended up calling it a grounding, but like we had recovered the ball. That would have been huge. I agree with that one. That was a fumble.
When somebody's arm gets hit and then the ball is coming out, you need to take a second before you figure out what you see. Maybe you need to confer with other people. You know what I mean? Because that what they call in being a ref is mechanics, okay? And that's how you get yourself in position to see things. One of the mechanics that helps out with this is essentially where everybody is placed and what they're supposed to be looking at. So now, like the lines judge, right? He's looking at the lines. The quarterback comes out. He's coming out of the pocket. Now, where are you looking? You're looking at the quarterback. Why? Because all the stuff upfield right now isn't your responsibility. You got all the guys in the back cover, all the DBs. You were in charge of the line of scrimmage, right? Until the ball gets snapped. So your job is the offensive line. Okay, so the quarterback's there. I really need to be looking at around the quarterback and things that are going around. There's also a ref behind the quarterback, right? So now whoever made the call needs to go up to the lines judge and they need to go, hey, what did you see? Because there's two angles there. There's two angles there, and they need to be able to confer on that, and they didn't. Someone just made a call. It was the head ref, I'm pretty sure, who was behind. Somebody from the side, like the lines judge, they might have seen it and would have called something different. But you don't go over there to the head ref and go, hey, you made a mistake on that play. You just shut up and you go to the next down. That's what I think happened there. I just think it was a very incompetent crew. You know what I mean? I think if you see something, like I would be like, hey, I think I got it different. And any good head ref would be like, okay, what do you got? And I would explain the process of the arm and all that. And I would, like if I saw the ball come out first and just saw him like pushing it, I would explain that to him. And then he'd go, okay. And they'd probably call it a fumble at that point in time. Just because there's that information. All he's seeing, if you look at from the back, it's really hard to see it. But once you see it from the side, right, that side angle, it kind of shows that it's a fumble.
There you go. Yeah. I think it could be incompetence, could be a fix was in, or at least not necessarily fixing the game, but at least making it so that it would be close at the end, so that it didn't.
I don't think the NFL would be behind it. If anything, it'd be Vegas.
Well, I mean,
you see what I'm saying?
They're in bed together.
That would be my tinfoil hat.
Randy said, I will say Gibson, even though he didn't make the hit, but it wasn't helmet to helmet, so why does it get called? We have the time and tech to review it. Yeah, no, that's not reviewable, apparently. That's why.
Yes.
And Mark Graves doesn't understand how it can be a defenseless receiver when the QB overthrew his guy. I mean, if anything, Mark, I'd say that's even more when you call it defenseless receiver is when there's no reason to hit him at all and you're hitting him anyway. I think that makes it more egregious. Now, it wasn't defenseless, but as a ref. And then Randy had an interesting theory, tinfoil hat theory, lazily called. Do you think there's any chance that the Niners kind of pissed off the refs with the pregame, fight? Yeah, refs are people too, and people have emotions, and people get upset by things. It could have. I mean, I'm a firm believer that the refs got mad at us in the Super Bowl when we went and lined up in the end zone, that famous end zone picture after that interception, and then they started like giving the Chiefs the calls to get them back in the game. So, yeah, I mean, they're people and people have emotions. And so it's possible. I'm not going to say that's what happened, but it's not crazy tinfoil, I don't think, just to throw that out there as a possibility.
I don't know if that was the case. It could be I would say it'd be more like a ref was a fan of the Browns more so than that. The reason being is because that does mean something for the game, but it just means that you're going to have to, like, they're going to want to squash things really quick. So instead of warnings coming out or, have multiple warnings, it might be a warning flag. You know what I mean? And then it's like, hey, and it might be penalties on both. You know what I mean? They do something, because that's kind of something you talk about before game is certain things like that. And so if that was to break out before game, they'd be like, okay, we need to be on our P's and Q's right here, because there might be a fight, and that's your job as a ref, is essentially to throw flags so punches don't get thrown, right?
Ideally, yeah. No, I agree with that. Mark Graves said, also Kyle used his challenge early and wasted, could have used it then. Well, yes, he used the challenge early, but you get two challenges, and I don't think he used the second one. So I just don't think that was reviewable, the Gibson play.
It's not.
And then I think they automatically reviewed the incomplete, grounding / fumble one. Anyway,
There wasn't enough evidence to overturn it.
I was pissed that Kyle challenged the Amari Cooper catch. First of all, because it looked like a catch, but second of all, because they were already going to kick the field goal anyway. I mean, yeah, you maybe could have backed him up 10 yards. And again, now I'm starting to understand like how much 10 yards difference can make there at that stadium with the swirling winds. But still, it just didn't seem like it was worth a challenge to me. Even if it was upheld, and it didn't seem like it was going to be. So yeah, but anyway, that's an interesting point, Mark, for sure. Rainey says also I'd be pissed if I was Kyle, but it was surreal to me, the acceptance of these terrible calls.
Well,
I think at some point there's not much you can do.
Yeah, and you could see that in how he interacted with the refs. At one point, you see him on the sideline. I can't remember what penalty it was after, or it might have been a call. I think it was a penalty or something. The side judge is trying to explain to him, and Kyle is just like, I don't give a fuck, and he walks away. And then the side judge comes up, like continuing to explain, and Kyle just like puts his headphones up, puts his thing on, and just like starts doing his own thing. Like, I don't want to hear your shit. I'm done. And it at some point, why are you going to complain anymore? Because this is the thing, as a coach, like, you don't want to sit there and get yourself all amped up and then tell them guys off, and then you put your offense or your defense in a bind. You know what I mean? So you kind of just got to be like, well, these guys are pieces of shit, and let's just figure out how we're going to beat these other assholes, without these fuckers getting in the way.
Dang, getting a Ryan rant here. Gonna give Bash a run for his money. Real quick, just want to say hi to CarCast, and CarCast, we'll get to your question in a minute here. We're still doing the Browns recap. Say hi to Nancy Cameron in the house. She's saying hi, Ted and Ryan. Thanks, Nancy, for being here. We appreciate it. Nancy. Real quick, probably a good time to take a quick commercial break too. I have a new sponsor called the Travelstead Group, and they do retail and hospitality logistics. So they do transportation and warehousing for brick and mortar. They do FFE, which is fixed furniture and equipment. They do OSE, which is operating supplies and equipment. They do new store rollouts, new store openings, relocations, decommissions. From the first mile to the final mile and everywhere in between, Travelstead has you covered. Let us know how we can help you via air, ocean, or land. Closed loop solutions for retail and hospitality. So Nick and Henry are great guys there. Hit them up. Make sure you tell them Ted sent you. Their website is in the description for the show. It's in my YouTube about page, Twitter bio, also in Insta and Facebook if you follow me there. Just click it. They have a cool video you can watch to show what they do. It is business to business. So if you're in retail or hospitality, you need help with the back end, getting things moved and set up, these are your folks. So thanks again. Who's down with TTG? Yeah, you know me. There you go. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Ryan, for letting me pay the bills. I appreciate it.
Most definitely, sir.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Browns clearly have, one of the best defenses in football. I mean, statistically, it's the best. They made our offense look bad for sure. Part of that was injuries. Part of it was a wet ball. Part of it was play calling.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, got to give them credit. The one thing I will say about them, and I did tweet it, and now, of course, I'm getting a lot of backlash. I should have waited until after the show because I can't really defend myself right now. But NFL Stats tweeted out, it says the Browns have allowed 1,002 yards through 5 games this season. So just a little over 200 yards, 200 and not even a quarter yards, or not even a half, 200.5 yards per game. The fewest by a team over that span since the Baltimore Colts in 1971. So I said, I'm not trying to poo-poo it, but I kind of am a little because I said Bengals, Burrow played hurt. They have the 32nd ranked offense this season, at least based off of yards. Steelers, anemic, 30th. Titans, anemic, 26th though. Ravens, no wide receivers, 11th though. 49ers, Trent W., Debo, and CMC all injured. So, always when you look at stats, it's important to look at who you got them against. And it's not like they did it against a healthy 49ers or even any healthy top 10 offense or top 5 offense. So I still think they're great. And I did say that at the end. I said the Browns D is great, but it might be a bit overrated. Both can be true. When you're starting to go all historic on it, I don't know. I just felt like there were guys open in that game. Ayuk dropped a pass. Purdy missed CMC open on the wheel route. He overthrew Ayuk at least 2 or 3 other times, or at least it was off his fingertips. If you don't call that an overthrow, it's certainly not a drop. We barely used Kittle. The only good catch Kittle had got called back on a Burford penalty. Go figure. He's done that 2 weeks in a row.
Dude, Banks was having issues.
Yeah.
Banks was getting penalties. I wasn't expecting that from him, but he was trying his ass off. I understand. You know what I mean? Like there was good reason for it. I understand that,
Yeah, I mean, a really good defense and rain and wind can make any QB look bad for sure. So I just hope it doesn't continue for Purdy. Hopefully he can get a glove or some sort of stick-'em, something that can help him grip a wet ball. What's that?
What Randall's talking about, yeah.
If Kyle would let him play. Yeah, I think Kyle is just a little weary about Mason because he's young and because he did have some fumbling issues in camp and preseason. And so there's some concerns about ball security with him. So I think that could be part of it. Kyle did come out and say that if Elijah Mitchell can go, that he'll be our primary back if CMC is not able to go.
How many times has he fumbled?
Never. Elijah Mitchell? Never.
No.
And he's got a lot more carries. Mason hasn't fumbled during the regular season.
Right. But how many times has he fumbled?
None.
All
together.
You
mean in preseason and camp?
In camp, yeah.
I don't know. There's like 2 or 3 times in camp and at least once or twice in preseason games. The big one was on the goal line against the Broncos, where we
and then there was one in practice. I think there was one in practice. So we're talking about in the last 2 years that we have known of Jordan Mason, he's put the ball on the ground less than a handful of times.
But then Elijah Mitchell has infinitely more carries and none himself.
But Elijah Mitchell gets broke on everything, and Jordan Mason hits the hole and makes marks.
Yeah.
So
I think Elijah Mitchell just needs to play himself back into game shape, because he was out most of the offseason.
I'm not worried about that. I'm talking about a game like that. Why are you putting Elijah Mitchell out there to possibly get hurt when you could put out a Jordan Mason who might hurt somebody?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are unhappy with Kyle about that for sure. I think he's just trying to get Elijah Mitchell into game shape.
It's hard to tackle a running back when he's broken your arm tackle over and over and over again, and your arm is just, it hurts, and it's hard to use all your strength because it's sore and it aches. Just saying.
No, I'm with you. So yeah, I mean, ultimately our run defense suffered without Dre Greenlaw. I was saying we need to get another enforcer. I thought Hufanga could do that, be that enforcer, but he really didn't step up. Oren Burks had a terrible game. Flanagan Fowles was pretty good, but nobody was a Dre Greenlaw. And
but how could you be?
Right, he's exceptional. I get it.
He's also had the best reps out of everybody other than Fred Warner.
Yeah, he's the tip of the spear when it comes to our defense.
Exactly. So it is what it is. Dre, we love you. Please come back. Only when you're 100% though. Okay. I don't want you coming back for a week when you're still. That's what I hate too. With like supposedly Kyle Rush players back, right? I don't like Russian players back. I want you 100% by the time you step on the field, because then I don't want you coming back for just one game and then being laid up for another 4 games. I don't want that shit. I want you to come back and play the rest of the season, hopefully barring, another injury. But hopefully if you do it right, they won't re-injure the same thing. They'll have another injury that'll be different, and that's better, because it's when you keep re-injuring the same thing, it's going to linger on longer. So things can, go into the off season, which you want to have the off season to be able to relax and build upon everything that you've done in the last couple years, the last years of your career.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, I'd like to see more Mason. I'd like to see more Elijah Mitchell. I think he definitely will get injured again, but until then, he is really reliable to not fumble. And when he is playing at his peak, it's a lot like Mason. He's not going to quite punish you quite as badly, but he had a similar like yards per carry, very, very high yards per carry, and he does deliver a blow. It's just the problem is he's smaller, so he tends to take more punishment when he does deliver those blows. It hurts him a lot of the time, unfortunately. Brian says, I want winners. I hear you. We all want winners, no doubt. I mean, I think, I think, like I said, there's some issues with this team, and we called it out in the offseason. McKivitz, although he supposedly only had 1 pressure allowed, but I think Kittle helped him a lot, So I think part of the reason why Kittle only had, essentially 3 targets and then really only 2 because 1 got taken away by penalty was because he was busy blocking way too much. So people are blaming Kittle for that, but I blame our O-line. I blame lack of not Brendel, but Brunskill to help Burford. And McKivitz, I don't think can really hold his own against these top edges like Zadarius Smith and Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett's a monster, absolutely. I mean, you can see why he, Bosa, and T.J. Watt are the cream of the crop when it comes to edge players in the NFL.
Go to Bryant's next comment.
If Moody can't do it, we have to move on. Yeah, for sure. At some point, I just don't think we're there yet. I mean, remember, Bryant, he was perfect through 5 games.
Bryant.
With a lot of field goals and I get it. It was a pressure situation. But there was also some pressure. I mean, it wasn't like a game winner. But against the Rams, when we were losing to the Rams, there were some pressure PATs and field goals as we caught up and took the lead there. So, I mean, it's not the same, but it's similar. So, anyway.
Bryant will have nothing but perfection when it comes to 49ers kickers.
He blames Tabor Pepper. That's right. Yesterday.
What?
Or Mitch. Yesterday, Pedro on the I voted for Pedro show with me yesterday was saying he thought the laces might have been out on that last kick, and I forgot to check that. So if anybody wants to check that, let us know what you find out, because then we could blame Mitch Wishnowski for that.
Well,
there you go. Oh, spin, and Brian says Mitch Wishnowski is a dog. That was before I mentioned his name.
So the actual spin, the laces being out, isn't the first responsibility of the holder. That's the responsibility of the snapper.
Oh, okay.
That's why they get paid the big bucks. It's because they can snap the ball and have it spin a certain amount of rotation, so it's right here in the hand, so they can just drop it and set it and then go.
Got it.
They're only supposed to, like, the holder's only supposed to adjust it a little bit, essentially. They're supposed to, like, let's say laterally they're only supposed to adjust it a little bit and then tilt forward or backward, whatever they need to, after they place it down to the ground, put their finger on the top, and then you'll see them get the lean right, and then they'll at the last second they'll like move their finger to try and line up the laces so it's straight, so the back end kind of matches up with the front end, because the back end where the seam comes together, so you're not hitting awkwardly on the seam, you're kind of flat and even on the seam against their foot. I'm guessing, right, Bryant? I know like 90% of that was true, but the last 10-20%, I'm pretty sure that's
It's all right. We give partial credit. That's fine. Just like hadn't lost in so long, it runs out sometime. Yeah, it does run out sometime. And against a great D on the road is a time when it happens. Just ask the Eagles, who also lost to the Jets, who have a great D, another AFC team that has a great D and not that great of an offense. But it was enough to overcome the undefeated Eagles. So even though we are 5-1, so are the Eagles, so are the Lions. And the Eagles and Niners have a leg up on the Lions because, like I said, we lost to AFC teams, whereas the Lions lost to the Seahawks, who are an NFC team. So in a tiebreaker situation, the Eagles and Niners both hold tiebreakers over the Lions, should we need it, for now. So that's good. It's interesting when I was talking about all these rain / weather potential games, 9 out of our last 11 games, I was saying maybe scheduling all these away games in September to avoid the fans from cooking on the sunny side, maybe that's not so smart. If you got a quarterback who doesn't play well with a wet ball, it might be more important to have less rain than to have more fans in the stands. I mean, not from a monetary perspective. I know that's the big thing for NFL owners, but
if you want to win a Super Bowl, you can't be worried about the weather conditions. So
it's in Vegas, so you don't have to worry.
No, I'm not talking about.
I'm
not talking about. Well, there's getting there. I'm not even talking about just this year. Okay, I'm just saying, like, you should not have to plan around weather when it comes to putting together a football team. So therefore, Brock Purdy has to, be able to throw accurately in the rain, as much as anybody else can. You know what I mean? Or we need to figure something out, I guess. You know what I mean? Because we can't be we're going up against who next week? Prime time
the
Kirk
Vikings.
Cousins. Yes, yeah. in prime time. So
Justin Jefferson. That's what Alberto Soto brought up. Or was it Alberto? It was Jason Smash. Who was it? Somebody earlier.
Okay, so this should be on paper a guaranteed win because we're going up against primetime Kirk Cousins with no best weapon on the field, right?
Yeah, but they do have Jordan Addison, who's a pretty good receiver, rookie.
Okay, but we're talking about primetime Kirk Cousins, right? So on paper, this should be a total 100% win, just for this argument, right?
Right. Well, if CMC plays.
Anyway,
she doesn't play. I don't know.
So I'm trying to get to a point here. So like when you got somebody who's got a thing on them, right? Like a primetime Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
That does not show up during primetime, right?
Yeah.
That's not somebody you can go win a Super Bowl with.
Right.
Because it's
right.
That's all I'm saying.
No, he shrinks.
And it's nothing about Brock. I'm sure Brock will figure out how to, throw with a glove on his hand. I'm sure.
I hope so.
And truthfully, what he should be doing is if there's a chance of rain, he should just be throwing all week with a glove on his hand.
And spraying the hose on him in practice.
Yeah, well, yeah, just wet the balls. And then during the game, if it doesn't rain, just spray down the balls. Keep spraying down the balls.
Just keep it consistent. There you go.
Yeah.
Carcast was the one who mentioned it. No Justin Jefferson thoughts. So yeah, I mean, we both agree the Niners should win. In fact, let's see what Vegas thinks. I haven't checked the spread yet, but I imagine it's pretty large, even for a away game.
It's probably like 8 to 10.
6.5. It'll go up. 6.5 as the news gets better about Debo and Trent Williams and CMC practicing this week. Then that spread I expect to go up from there. But I mean, you got to remember 6.5 is really 9.5 minus the 3 for the home field advantage, being in Minnesota. So see, where were we? I'm just going to cruise down. No love, it's like basketball. Rams lost to the Seahawks. We're in good shape. Yeah, that's good. I'm not really too worried about the Rams. I mean, they're 3-3. The Seahawks are 3-2. So the Seahawks are still in second place in the West anyway. Philly in the cold blows, no doubt. Philly anytime blows. The Vikings. Yeah, I mean, the one thing is Jordan is fine, Ted. Is he saying Jordan Addison or is he saying Jordan Mason? I don't know. Jordan Addison is pretty good. They also have TJ Hawkinson, who's really good. And they have another wide receiver who's decent. KJ Osborne is decent. And Alexander Madison's a great little back. He's just little, so I know that he can stand up to a lot of punishment. They also have Cam Akers, former Rams fame. And they have a really good fullback, not Juszczyk, of course, but one of the best fullbacks in the NFL, not named Kyle Juszczyk, CJ Ham. So we'll see if maybe we'll see some of him.
You remember that guy Sherman who used to play for Kansas City?
Yeah, he was really good too.
God, I loved watching that guy play.
He was a battering ram for sure.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I love me a good fullback. What can I say?
Jordan is just Brock right now, but when he was QB4, just needs a start, not Eli. Okay. So not Eli, not Elijah Mitchell. Okay. Grant Cohn was kind of shoveling dirt on Elijah Mitchell, saying that the injuries have caught up to him. And I was like, I just think he needs to play into game shape. It's one of the rare times not that rare, but I disagree with Grant from time to time.
I think you're kind of right, but I don't think this was the game for him.
The other time I disagreed with Grant was today. I think I've disagreed with him a couple times today. Another one was he was saying, well, if CMC's hurt, rest him for the Vikings because we can beat the Vikings without CMC. I agree with that. And he said we can beat the Bengals without CMC. And I disagree with that because the Bengals are playing better. They just beat the Seahawks and they won the week before. Joe Burrow is starting to get back into form.
Yes, he is.
And they have a good defense. And I don't know, some guy was telling me on the timeline, oh, Ted, we could lose the Vikings and the Bengals and go 14-3. And I'm like, no, dude, no. I'm like, we got a bunch of losable games before we play the Eagles. We got the Bengals, we got the Jags, we got the Bucks are not terrible. They're 3-3. Seahawks twice, once before and once after the Eagles, and then obviously Ravens Christmas Day. Ravens defense is looking legit as all get out right now.
Yes.
They're looking like one of the better Ds up there with us, the Cowboys, obviously the Browns, the Jets. These are sort of my top 5 Ds right now. I don't think the Eagles really have shown that they are yet. So let's see here. Randy says, we never find Brady or Brock without some major injuries happening first. People need to get their shot when they get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was my thing that I said last year.
That's why he's saying that Jordan Mason should be playing over Elijah Mitchell.
Right. Don't wait for him to get hurt. Just play him anyway. I hear you.
Now, there's also, I got a tinfoil hat too on this. Could Kyle just be trying to figure out how to barely use him until the next negotiations and have him as his because I think he's got another year or 2 left on his
2
contract.
years. Yeah.
This
year and next year. Because all right,
so if he can keep him under wraps for the next 2 years, he can go at him and say, hey,
or maybe
this is how much you're worth, and he's got to take it instead of being like, no, I'm worth millions of dollars.
Maybe I'm wrong because, well, first of all, he's undrafted. So right there, it's only 3 years instead of 4. And you have control. So it might be after this year that we have to, re-up. And so that could be part of it. That's not the craziest tinfoiliest thing I've ever heard, I'll just say.
And remember how Kyle has always treated Jordan Mason. We saw him in the first preseason game last year, if I remember correctly, and everybody was like, that guy's a dog. We love that guy. And then how much did we see him after that? Put the locks on it. Put the locks on it. Maybe a play a game. Maybe a play every preseason game. Maybe two. He put the locks on him. The moment he had a 10-yard run, which was like the first time he got the ball, he was wraps, put the wraps on that. Nope. And then remember, oh, we can't let him go. We can't let him get wavered. We'd rather give up Trey Sermon. So that might be a thing.
There you go. Randy says he unsubbed from Grant. Grant is TMZ. I don't know about that. I think every fan base has sort of a non-homer / hater type of person who asks the tough questions and holds Kyle accountable. I think he's great the way he asks some tough questions. But I can see why some people think he's too negative. I think he is sometimes too, and then I call him out when I see it. But nonetheless, there's every fan base has at least one. I'll just say that. Except for maybe the Chiefs.
Whether you like his content or not, you want to make sure that he's at least in that reporting room. Just because he will ask the question that nobody else wants to ask because they're scared of like roughing up feathers. And Grant does not give a shit. So whether you like his content or not, that's cool. I understand. Hey, I'm not don't watch stuff that you don't find enjoyable. Like you don't enjoy watching. Don't watch that stuff. But just know that he is doing something for the good of essentially of us, because like they wouldn't be just nonchalantly telling us the things we want to know without these people asking them questions. They would not say anything if they didn't have to. And when you've got a journalist group, core, whatever, that is as like scratch my back and I'll scratch yours as we have, like it's we need somebody in the room to at least, I was explaining this one time, when you've got somebody like Grant in the room, you have to be able to give Grant or somebody else at least enough knowledge on what they want to know to get them to shut up. You don't have to give them everything, but you got to give them just enough to shut up. And that's where some things slip out. You know what I'm saying? That's where you can be held accountable, because now you have said something, you put it on tape. Now you can be held accountable for that, whether it goes right or not. You know what I mean? And that's something that 49ers do. Remember Weston Richburg? Any week now. Any week now. Like, that's what they do. So we need somebody there who.
No, we do. No doubt about it. Like I said, you can not like a style, and I'm not saying you have to subscribe or watch or anything like that. But he definitely helped me, and I owe him a debt of gratitude. But at the same time, I'm not going to lie for anyone. If I didn't think he was doing good stuff, I would say it. And I definitely enjoy his content. I enjoy Lombardi's content. I also just know that, you kind of draw an imaginary line in between the two, kind of like Fox News and CNN. And you kind of get your, idea of closer where the truth lies.
The
and that's
baseline.
Where I like to be.
That's where you get the baseline.
Yeah, more in the shades of gray, the nuance. But hey, everybody's got their own stuff, no doubt about it. Let's see here. Have you seen the look on Kyle's face when Grant asks his questions? Yeah, no doubt.
Oh yeah.
Kyle gets annoyed for sure, and that's what you want. You want the coach. You don't want it to be all softballs and like, oh, hey Kyle, you're great, and it's, hey, it's great that we lost, Kyle, and you're so perfect. I'm sure you'll figure it out next time. And that's not the way to get better. So
if you want to understand, kind of, I guess, if you go and watch like Robert Sala's interviews, or not interviews, what do you call it, press conferences, you'll understand that in New York they do things differently. And you got to understand Lowell Cone, where Grant learned a lot of the stuff, is from New York. And so Lowell has got that New York attitude, that vibe, that, you know what I mean? Like, you don't get away with this shit. And so he's essentially from another era and from another part of the country, and he's not running with the rest of the geese, you know what I mean, that have been essentially, raised around here, and they kind of understand the flow of things. Grant understand the flow of things, but he was taught a way of doing things that's different, you know what I mean? It's a little more in your face. But you still need that. You need somebody to hold these guys accountable. They have to be scared of somebody. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, you definitely want to get the truth, and you're not going to get it by just lobbing up cans of corn and just being like, whatever, what have you. But hey, we don't have to beat it to death. So as far as the game goes Monday night, do you have a score prediction, Ryan? What you think it'll be?
No, I don't. Not without knowing everything that's going to go on. You know what I mean? As far as who's going to be suiting up and whatnot, it's really, it could be another 19 to like 12 game. You know what I mean? It could be 20 to 17. Who knows? I don't
think that Vikings team can hold us under 20 points. Even
Trent Williams is the big thing I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Trent Williams is that now he played on it, but that doesn't mean that he won't be missing this week.
No, yeah. Regular ankle sprains can be a week or 2 weeks easily out.
And Trent is a full grown ass man. You know what I mean? So if Trent can do something, he'll do it if he feels like it. And then, afterwards when the doctors go, you probably shouldn't do anything, you probably shouldn't have gone back in the game. You know what I mean? Then he'll listen to him. But until that point, you know what I mean? He's just a grown ass man, and he's not going to leave his homies out on the field. You know what I mean?
Also, he didn't want to put Jalen Moore out there without the practice reps. If Jalen Moore goes through all the practice this week, then it makes it easier for him to sit out knowing that at least Jalen knows what to do on each play after walking through it all. So that's interesting. Oh, CarCast is back. It's all right. I'm back. Welcome back, CarCast. Didn't realize you had left. But thanks for coming back. I appreciate it. You'd be surprised just how many people are from Brooklyn. It was like a waiting room in the East Coast. Interesting. I know I'm not from Brooklyn. Charvarius Ward will have some pressure taken off of him without Jay Jettis. Yeah. 100%. Same with Diamador Lenore.
My grandpa was from Rochester.
My concern would be if they put Jordan Addison in the slot against Isaiah Oliver, though, who is getting cooked on a pretty regular basis.
Well, but this isn't necessarily a big run team, so he might not be the guy out there in base. You know what I'm saying? They might put somebody else out there in base because they're expecting more of a pass. So you might have like a Demo in nickel.
Maybe, yeah. Or I guess if Womack ever gets healthy, or Luter, but Luter really hasn't done anything since OTAs. I don't really expect much from him other than in the case of a lot of injuries. I think they'll always see Terrell Luter this season.
Either that or something where he starts just taking off in practice, and then all of a sudden, like, the Niners activated, blah blah blah, and he'll be getting some regular reps this tonight, and it'll be like, oh, okay, so he's become a dog. You know what I mean? Because you don't get extra reps over the old guys without being a dog. That's just kind of how it goes.
There you go. We got Rod Callie in the house. He says, "What's up, fellas? I've been watching it. I love what you guys are preaching. It means a lot, Rod. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it."
Appreciate you, Rod.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought that when Brock Purdy did poorly in the game that I would come out and bash him, but I was just like, no. There was a lot of things that went wrong, from starting at 10 a.m. to the rain, to a really strong defense, to the injuries, to bad play calling, to penalties, to whatever. And so it does worry me about other rain games, but I still believe in Brock, like say for this week against the Vikings in a dome. I think he'll be lights out again.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Brock is going to figure out what the issue is, and he'll do whatever he has to. Because, like I said, this can't be a thing that we go through. I'm sure he knows that we can't, have horrible games just because it rains. And I'm sure he's going to be very proactive on this. I'm sure Kyle and him probably had a talk like, hey, what was going on tonight? This and that. Do we need to this and that? And I'm sure they probably got a plan of attack for next time. Probably a glove. And like I said, wetting the balls in practice. And yeah, that's it.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, because people will say like, oh, well, he got us into, when the chips were down, he drove the ball down and Moody missed the field goal, and that's true. But, we're going to face a lot better offenses than PJ Walker and Kareem Hunt this season. And so, I just I'm of that mindset of like, it never should have come to that. We should have had a more comfortable lead. And so, yeah, I'm hoping to see more. I do think we'll see more out of Barkley. Like I said, especially when it's not wet and rainy. And hopefully when it is wet and rainy, we'll have figured out how to. Part of me wonders if his grip isn't still compromised some from the UCL injury, where remember in the NFC Championship game, he couldn't really grip the ball. He could only shot put it. And because there was nerve damage. I wonder if his grip strength is 100% now, or if any of his arm strength is 100% now. I don't know.
That could have been one of the reasons why he might not have been ripping things so early on in camp.
Oh, he definitely wasn't in camp. And then on Sunday.
Because think about it, you're gonna need some grip to hold on to that ball while you throw it so quickly and then release. You know what I mean? You're gonna need good grip, and if you release it the wrong time or it comes out of your hand, it's gonna look bad. It's gonna look bad.
No doubt about it. Randy Thomas says, "Only God is perfect. The devil told me so." I like that. Love it. Wet wobbly balls are hard to handle. That's definitely true. Pause. Steve-O Supremo in the house. He says, unless you're Tommy. You mean Tommy Brady or Tommy Huxley? Probably Tommy Brady. Yeah, Brady was good in bad weather for sure. That was one of his. Gillette Stadium is no joke, the weather they get there in Foxborough.
Yeah.
And it was interesting that Skip Bayless was talking about how, I was saying that, Purdy could have been Brady, and now this is Thud, is, Scud, is he falling from grace? And I'm just like, dude, if you just don't pump him up so much, then you don't have to tear him down after. Just be realistic about the whole thing.
Like I said, he's only human.
And he's saying like, oh, did the Niners peak too early? Did they think they won their Super Bowl against the Cowboys? And I'm like, hey, Skip, how could anyone think they won the Super Bowl against the Cowboys when the Cowboys ain't even been to an NFC Championship in this century, let alone a Super Bowl?
Facts.
Yeah, come on, Skip. Come on. How are you going to do this like that? That's crazy. Now,
you know how he's going to do it.
That we overused CMC a little bit, and now he's injured, so that's a bummer.
When no one gets to hold you accountable because you run the show essentially.
Yeah.
Then you don't have. What makes you say that? Everything you want to say that because it's just driving shit. That guy is such a freaking attention whore.
Skip, say less.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Well, and like, who has a bunch of power and no one to tell them no? Isn't that Kyle too?
Yeah.
Seems like, Jetty kind of does, but not really. Not enough. I guess we don't want him getting involved anyway.
So this is
Lynch. Lynch can't stand up to him.
This is the way I see it. Like, he is like the CAO. He doesn't necessarily own it, but he runs it, right? But like, who's gonna tell him he's doing a bad job? The people who own it did a shitty job before he was running it. Yeah. So he's had more. So how are they going to be like, that was a bad move. He'd be like, shut the fuck up. Go sit over there before I leave and let you run this bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Or try and pick
So
another Tom Sula or Chip Kelly, right?
yeah, you shit. So yeah, I I it's bad when you're in situations like this because without being able to be held accountable, they can just like look, like shitting away those 3 firsts for Trey Lance.
No doubt about
What
it.
happened to that? You got a contract extensions. Yay, contract extensions.
And I'll give Skip a little credit and just say that I don't really expect us to have a game that's better than that game looked against the Cowboys, right? To beat the Cowboys 42-10 and have it be that score with like 11 plus minutes left in the fourth quarter. I don't think we'll beat a better opponent worse than that this season. That doesn't mean I think we've peaked or that we can't win the Super Bowl or anything like that. But that might have been our penultimate game for 2023, maybe. That wouldn't shock me.
It wouldn't shock me either. To me, they broke the Cowboys' backs. It's like immediately the Cowboys were like, shit, we weren't ready. You know what I mean? From like play 3, they were like, shit, we're not ready. And the Niners just like foot on the gas. Foot on the gas.
Randy says, what player deserves 3 first? None. It was a way of getting McDaniel supplies. Was McDaniel the coach in 2021 of the Dolphins? I don't think he was. Was he? Was he already there when we traded for Trey Lance? I guess he was. I guess he was the one who. Let me look it up.
What? I think you might be right as far as the timing.
Yeah, no, here we go. Oh, no, February 7th, 2022. That's what I thought. So he wasn't there, Randy. Nice try. February 7th, 2022. So it was a full year after we moved up, almost a full year after we moved up. So unless they knew that he was going there and they did it in advance, which would be some pretty you never know. You never know what kind of wink wink nudge nudge how's your father deals are done in the NFL, right? I mean, us tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists thrive on this shit. So
well, they ended up having to forfeit a pick.
Oh yeah, anyway. Because they were tampering with Brady.
Yeah.
SVP Scott Van Pelt, that is, I think, said, I have no dog in the fight, but neither of those penalties. But I like Bosa's comment, we didn't deserve to win. Yeah, both can be true. You know, the penalties were egregious, but we didn't deserve to win either. We played like dog doo-doo. I did think they were kind of dirty, though. I thought the shove of CMC out of bounds was dirty. I thought the face mask was dirty. I thought there were some other kind of dirty, questionable plays. But, you know, whatever.
We could have totally beat that team despite the reps. Yeah. You know what I mean? We totally could have. It was definitely within our power. Oh, so that's why I was like,
or don't even kick the ball. Like, keep driving, Kyle. But so that's been a big
actually. I feel that the kick was smarter than to keep driving.
So did I.
The more that you drive, the more stupid flags that could come out.
Flags, losses.
You know what I mean?
You open it up for all kinds of stuff. Yeah. I felt like we'd finally gotten some positive yardage. It's like, okay, go out on a high note. Like, let's capitalize on this positivity. One more positive kick. The kick from 41. Moody's got a big leg. Should be able to kick through the wind, but you know, it's not that simple. But yeah, no, I think both can be true, Steve-O. He's going to have to compete with Kyle somehow. Who's that? Who that? Hey, John Lynch, we're saying after Rudy Gilbert went for 5 first players, anything is possible. Rudy Gobert, but that's NBA, Steve-O. And we didn't trade 3 firsts for Lance. We traded 2 firsts and a third, and we used the number 12 overall pick to move up to number 3 with those other picks. So we used 3 firsts and a third, but we didn't trade 3 firsts. That's the other part. Have to be careful how we word things.
How do you not?
Prison day.
Wait. How do you not trade it? If we didn't use that pick, how did we not trade it?
I guess we did trade it, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I guess we did. You're right. Yeah, that's just semantics. You're right. Because because the Dolphins used that pick to get Waddle, didn't they? Or no. It ended up with the somehow it ended up with the Cowboys. I guess the Dolphins traded back with
because they weren't looking for anything, I guess, at that point.
Or the Dolphins traded up and got Waddle a few spots before, and the Cowboys traded back and got Micah Parsons. That's what happened. So yeah, you're right. We did trade 3 firsts and a third for Trey Lance. That's right. Interesting. Miami already knew that McD was coming here. He's Cuban. There you go. So he's saying that McDaniel knew. Forget Todd, Kyle, Chess. No, that's true. Like I said, these guys plan things out pretty far in advance, and it's not out of the realm of possibility that these things could have been arranged long in advance without the public knowing all about it, for sure. Cool. I think we've pretty much covered everything. So I'll just say thank you to the audience for showing up. Thank you to Ryan. If you're on my channel, make sure you get over to Border Sports. Give him a like and subscribe on No Border Sports. Same thing if you're on his channel. Get over to TED Talks Ball. Give me a like and subscribe. And we'll see you guys next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Tuesdays, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern. What do you got coming up, Ryan, that you want to promote?
So, actually, everybody go and reach out to Bashar. Let him know you feel for him. He had something bad happen to him today. Well, not to him, but to people he knows. It's really got him in a bad spot. So just, let him know you're thinking about him and his friends. And yeah. And then Mariah, somebody threw a rock through Mariah's window. And so she's got all her streaming room essentially torn apart. So there is no Bring the Heat podcast this evening. But tomorrow we should have the rivalry with Joe Stevens. And then Wednesday night, I'll be on the Pick'ems with Corey Davis. Thursday, I'll be streaming the game live Thursday night with Corey Davis. It'll be a simulcast. And then Friday, we got our Friday show. I don't know who's running it yet, so check back one of those days, and I'll probably do something in the community tab.
Right on. Tomorrow, I have First and Ted, but we're not on at 3:30 like usual. It'll probably be like 3 or 2:30. We haven't nailed that down yet. I'll reach out to Aaron. It's a good reminder to me to do that because I have a 4:30 show with a Vikings guy, Dave, the Purple Hulk. Who's a Vikings fan show. So I'll be a guest on there. I think I'll be streaming to my channel too. But whatever it is, I'll get it out on Twitter. And then Thursday's open if anybody's looking to collab. I'm open Thursday afternoon till about 4:15 Pacific. And then Friday, I've got Ballin' with Bash and Ted at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 Eastern. And I'll reach out to Bash too and make sure he's doing all right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. And I'll just say peace and go Niners.
Peace.